Paying a visit to Hainan's cultural exhibition hall in search of Hainan's ancient sounds. On the trail of the inheritors of Hainan's 8 sounds while learning about its fascinating history.
小聚或者结婚啊，老人生日啊，都是用八音过来。
Calling in at a hive of cultural bequeathal and striking up a few chords with these inheritors of Hainan's age-old musical culture. All of this and so much more in this week's episode. Perhaps you will remember that not long ago I caught up with some practitioners of Hainan opera and had a go on their musical instruments. Well, those musical instruments encapsulate the 8 main categories in a traditional Hainan orchestra, and today I shall be finding out a little bit more about the so-called 8 sounds. The origins of Hainan's 8 sounds can be traced back to music from Chaozhou in Guangdong province and is based on the music produced by 8 traditional musical instruments. These instruments are the cernei, tiaoxian, coconut erhu, qin, houguan, gong, drum and cymbals. Over time, more instruments have been added to the repertoire, resulting in today's more than 8 sounds. After trying my hand that time at some of the 8 traditional instruments, I was struck by how different the rhythms and the melodies of the music were to Western music, but also to modern Chinese music. My curiosity was piqued, and so today I'm going to go and find out a little bit more about this historical Hainan musical art form. Hainan's 8 sounds has a long history, and its roots can be traced back to the Tang and Song dynasties. Having been perfected by the Ming dynasty, it began to appear regularly in Hainan during the Qing dynasty, the Republic of China, and the Liberation period. In 2008, Hainan's 8 sounds was officially recognized at the national level as an item of intangible cultural heritage. I've heard that Hainan's Culture and Art School is employing the services of an inheritor of Hainan's 8 sounds and is teaching this to the school pupils, so I'm going to go over and have a listen. This will not be my first time to learn from an inheritor of intangible cultural heritage. You might recall that I once apprenticed under a master of the coconut erhu, one of Hainan's traditional 8 sounds. It seems as though our paths are about to cross once again today, and I wonder what today's studies will hold in store for me. I cannot wait to find out.
How to use
不好意思，等会儿是黄老师对吧？
对。
哦，你好，您是海南八音的非传承人对吧？
对。
哎呀，太棒了！今天我特地过来了，跟你一起学习。可以做，可以加入你们吗？
会。
太好了，太好了，太好了。84-year-old Huang Cihe has been studying Hainan's 8 sounds for over half a century. After becoming the inheritor of this art, he has devoted himself to its continuation and development. And today, I am lucky enough to have a lesson with him.
这个是我先制作的5个乐器合起来的
先野可的
先做的，因为我们海南没有自己的弹的，吹的那都有的，就没有，所以我就烧备了3年多年，最后找这个木工帮我制作出来，音色很好的。
太棒了！
哎，太棒了！你可以看一下这个。
哇！声音很独特的啊，是吧？
对。
怎么选呢？
看音乐的，好音乐。
Despite never having played this instrument before, thanks to Huang Cihe's expert tutelage, I am, after just a few minutes, able to play in concert with the other students. Hainan's 8 sounds mostly uses folk instruments created by local artists and exude local flavor. For instance, the erhu and a type of lute are made using coconut shells, with wood from the betel nut tree employed to make other instruments.
它的音很微厚，比野狐还要好，但是比其他乐器木材做的有它的特色。来给听一下啊，
看一下啊。
比一般中国还要死，所以我们要弘扬我们海南的文化，对吧？以我们的特有的材料搞自己的乐器。
Over its 1,000 years of history, Hainan's 8 Sounds has not only been documenting treasured details of local life, but also carrying forward for generations to come a proud ancestral memory.
好，小时候的农村就这样，有结婚啊。然后是建屋啊，老人生日啊，都请拜人过来，就是这个机会了，其他都没有机会结束。所以我就知道村里的人结婚，我就早就到那边等到拜人队过来。他们就是8、9个人嘛，有弹的、拉的、吹啊、敲的。平时他们演奏的时候，我就站在他们后面关注，看怎么弹。怎么拉，怎么吹，手怎么动，左手右手怎么动。
Listening to Huang Cihe's accounts of Hainan's 8 Sounds, my curiosity is aroused and I am keen to find out more. Visiting Huang Cihe's home, I am struck by his deep and genuine enthusiasm for Hainan's 8 Sounds, as well as his efforts to pass the tradition on. 黄老师，今天我来您家，主要是想了解一下，关于您跟八音之间的故事和历史哈。
因为八音在我们海南是有很久的历史了，所以从小就受八音的影响。到5岁以后呢，就感觉到八音很好听，就村里面有人结婚啊，住宿舍啊，喜庆的日子都请八音过来。就这一天呢，就巴不到天快亮就去看八音。
Hearing Hainan's 8 Sounds, Huang Cihe became interested in music, and he continues to be captivated by it to this day.
后来上了小学，小学里面有个校长，也有这个我们的海南八音乐系，就放学以后都到那里练了，一直练到初中，后来就到还好，就这个音乐班，学八音，学胸际音乐。
In the 1990s, Huang Cihe retired from the Hainan Opera Theatre and went abroad with his family, intending to live out his golden years. But in 2008, he made a surprising decision. 听说您是从国外专门回来了哈，是吧？就是为了把这个八音传承下去哈。
对。
那你为什么做出这么一个决定呢？
在国外时间长了，也想回过来看看。海南人民日报订了一篇报纸，他们到灵山调查，就发现老八音就不断的厉害认真，就年轻的几乎上班，老八音的儿子、孙子一直都不想学八音，就是因为几百年的八音即将绝响。哇，看这张报纸很痛心，因为我就立志要为八音贡献晚年，就是看到这张报纸我就坐不住了。
Seeing the headlines that wrote of its imminent loss, Huang Cihe was sincerely moved and was determined not to allow his beloved 8 Sounds to disappear.
我就找到美兰区主办非文化遗产的这个文化管理局，我说这个事情不能这样，我们这一代人 老祖宗传下来宝贵遗产，我们没有保留下来，传下去就会犯罪。当时我是举说，不是没有人学，没有好的老师来教，没有对八音热爱的人来教。我说我来。
Having made up his mind to stay in Hainan, Huang Cihe moved quickly to keep this venerable style of music alive.
我就先到灵山文化站，他们县政府要重视知识，开始呢他就教之中的民间艺人，差不多起来20个人学，开始他们就很多是观望的态度哎，不知道你怎么样行不行？八音他就是民间的，你们是外行的，他们这不怪他们了。后来随顺了几个月，但是我这个人做事情就别人不做我要做，我就一边回顺民间艺人，一边动员灵山小学几个小学生，灵山中学几个学生，一边教老的，一边教小的。
Through concerted efforts, reinvigorating Hainan's 8 sounds has had some success. However, according to Huang Cihe, this is far from being enough. 您手里面是什么呢，老师？
是我们老祖宗最早用的公社谱，用汉字写的，工人的工，时顺的时，
尺字的尺，是谱子吗？
谱子，给你看，
我们看一下吧。这不是汉字吗？
就是汉字，用汉字记了。
汉字就是
哆来咪就用汉字的记，想写工，上词工。
哇天哪，那我真的第一次听说这个，也第一次见到哈。
这个应该是也是我们劳动人民的创造。
哇哦，
西洋是五线谱，我们就是老祖宗用这个。
哇，那很考验你这个脑筋哈。
对，很复杂的。
I count myself quite fortunate to have a look at these time-worn musical strophes. The 8 sounds used to be written using a classical Chinese musical notation, which to outsiders just looks like gobbledygook. To facilitate the handing down of this art form, Huang Cihe has rewritten all the musical notes as staves, making it much more accessible to learners. In addition, he has reworked some of the noisier parts of the pieces, opening up this world of music to contemporary pupils.
原来就锣鼓唢呐都是从头到尾听不到什么声音，就是唢呐跟锣鼓响。现在我就中间按照我们现代人的审美视角的要求，我就都会安排一下，大家对比一下。
好，
好的。这里滚来了，胡来了，滚来了，唢呐停了。
These amended versions of the 8 sounds are proving very popular. Huang Cihe organizes bands of different age groups which often perform around the province. He is beginning to see hope for the revival of Hainan's 8 sounds. 那您自己下一步打算做什么呢？
我是一颗八音的种子，又是一个八音的选手播种人。我到哪里，如果种子八音的种子那里生根发芽，我到哪就去传播八音。所以我就是有计划、有生些人嘛，要培训一批青少年效果八音，一批中青年八音，一批女八音，就是男女老幼，我都要培训，因为我就把培训贡献当为这个享受，我这个艺术传给下一代，我很乐。
A problematic characteristic of intangible culture is that reviving it is only half the battle. Having someone to preserve and continue the art form is key to its long-term survival. Upon leaving Huang Zihe's home, I stopped by a primary school where I perceived glimmers of hope for the future of the Eight Sounds.
Well, this just looks like any old common or garden primary school. It's difficult to imagine just from looking that this institution is an inheritor of Hainan's intangible cultural heritage. 文校长你好。
你好。
我来到这里想体验一下你们这个八音课程，可以不？
可以，好，欢迎到音乐室看一下。
谢谢。开始上课了吗？
请进。
谢谢。
这是我们孩子们学八音的乐器，这个是小阮。
哦，小阮，那也有大阮吗？
有中阮。
有中阮，这个有一点像我们这个英国经常使用的一个叫班卓琴哈，圆形的哈，这个一般的说是弹出来这种很欢快的句子的时候用的，这个挺好的。
这个是琵琶。
弹起我心爱的土琵琶，我不会弹。
Head teacher Wen Han shows me some of the children's instruments. Sanjiang's No. 2 primary school in Haikou has been designated a so-called incubator and is charged with fostering the next generation of successors to Hainan's 8 sounds.
那校长，您可以介绍一下这个八音项目吗？
八音项目是因为我们之前做了一个中盘舞的引进校园，也是一个非遗项目。后来我们这项目参加了2018年的美兰区教育局6·1的文艺汇演，获得2等奖区文化馆的，看到了以后就跟我们商量，是否能够把八音这个项目也引进校园。
那为什么要多加一个非遗项目呢？这个八音呢？
八音是作为中盘舞的背景音乐，所以我们把这个八音引进来，就是为共同的把这2个项目都放到学校，
多传承一个那个非遗项目。
对。
The town of Sanjiang has a long cultural history. The local Zhongpan dance is inextricably linked with the 8 sounds. Sanjiang Primary had originally been allocated the task of teaching Zhongpan, but through a chance encounter became involved in preserving Hainan's 8 sounds. This has come about thanks to a cooperative arrangement between the Arts and Culture School of Hainan Province and Sanjiang Primary.
张老师，我听说咱们这个小学跟省艺校有一个合作，那是什么样的一个合作模式呢？
这个呢是我们学校给三江小学办的一个孵化基地，是2家学校来进行合作的。因为我们呢所有老师下来授课呢，全部都是给免费的，孩子可以免费学习，还有免费的乐器。这方面呢，给他们小孩子传授我们海南八音这种传统的一些简单的知识和演奏水平您看一下，现在就是我们的李老师在为小孩子们在上乐理课
I think I have the music basics covered now, and I'm ready for some serious study. The children are now going to the music room to fetch their instruments, which they'll take to their respective classrooms where they'll have their lessons.
I can hear different strains emanating from every classroom, which, when woven together, form a rare musical composition.
That's a familiar tune. Like a diamond in the sky. That's a familiar instrument as well. If I'm not mistaken, they're playing the cello. But why would a cello, a European instrument, make an appearance at a Hainan traditional 8 sounds class? I wonder. Let me ask the teacher. 这个不是传统海南八音的课程吗？怎么会这个大提琴，我们欧洲的一个乐器会出现呢？
对，这个是怎么说呢？八音是 之前是没有大提琴，但有它的低音，不是这个大提琴的名字，可能是另外一个琴，但是也是靠大的低音出来。音乐的高潮需要大低音去吹上去，所以呢，现在发展到我们中国有了低音以后，所以我们现在所有音乐中都会用上低音啊，
原来如此，
很尬的那个。
长知识了。
Inspired by the children's commitment, I am eager to give it a whirl myself, and I ask whether I can join them in a lesson.
In previous programs, I've taken a Hainan coconut erhu for a spin. I've tried my hand at some simple drumming, but today I'm going to challenge myself and try a traditional Hainan woodwind instrument known as the cernei. It looks easy, but is it? Let's go and see.
您好，先停啊，老师，您好。
这出声音呢？
对，它这个唢呐呢，它的声音您可以试着吹一下用丹田的气慢慢的气往外面输送，不用，它是这样子扁住我们的嘴巴，你看，试一下啊，好，来，不要用很多力。
This modest little cernei is much harder to play than I had imagined. For their tenacity, these youngsters have earned my respect. By nurturing and training our youngsters in a systematic way, they will be more mindful of the importance of passing on Hainan's own traditions. This means not simply indulging in a hobby, but equipping them to realize and giving them confidence in what is unique to Hainan. I look forward to the day when these little children become the inheritors of the future.
这里是海南卫视。